Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Beck Technology webinar. My name is Alex, and I'm on the marketing team at Beck Technology. Today, we are going to be understanding DESTINI Estimator and Power BI. Being able to visualize and compare data easily and quickly is a big differentiator for contractors who are eager to make better project decisions. Daniel Pemberton, Sales Engineer at Beck Technology, is here today to walk us through some of the ways in which pre-construction data from DESTINI Estimator can be sliced, diced, and digested easily in Power BI. As always, please feel free to ask your questions over in the questions portion of the GoToWebinar taskbar. And I also want to remind everyone that this October, Beck Technology will be hosting our second annual Pre-Con World in Dallas. I'll be dropping a link shortly if you have any more interest around that. I want to welcome our presenter, Dan Pemberton, Sales Engineer at Beck Technology. Dan, take it away.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. All right, so we're going to start off here today in DESTINI Estimator, and the reason we're doing so is because we want to show you where all of this information is gathered and tracked. So as this is an opening up here, we'll jump over to the project tab. And again, with templates, you can go ahead and have these templates in place for all different types of work in here. And these answers can be pre-populated in the templates, and we're just going to start off here. So the reason, the thing around project properties is they're going to go ahead and they're going to allow us to put our estimates into these certain buckets that we want to look at historically. We can also go ahead and use these project properties to be a basis for cost per unit. So whether it's rentable building area or total building area, things like that, those properties can be used to go ahead and be the basis for a cost per unit. So maybe I'm going to set my contract type here. So we want to go ahead and only say this is going to be our design build projects. We can go ahead and give it a project name, any of the engineer information, architects, things like that. So we want to be able to track all of this stuff. What vertical market is it going into? What's the level of detail, the project type? So any of those things, we want to be able to go ahead and find like all of our assisted living projects when we go ahead and look them up in Power BI. So we want all of those projects to come in and be able to break them out accordingly. We can go ahead and define, okay, what's going to be our construction duration? I can plug in 24 months. And then I can come down, populate like our total building area. So this is going to be 50,000 square feet, populate that there. And the total site area is going to be, I don't know, the 50,000 square feet as well. So once we have that information populated here, the only thing we need to do at that point is jump over to our home screen. We're going to save our estimates anyway. So that's the only thing that we need to do to make this information flow into Power BI is go ahead and hit that save button. Again, you're going to do it anyway, so there's no real extra steps in that process. Now, once you get into Power BI and you want to go ahead and start consuming this data, so you can open up your Power BI dashboards here, and these can be shared through a SharePoint site. You can do all different sorts of things with Power BI, but these dashboards are provided out of the box as is when you receive our software. So this is a starting point for you. Take it and do with it what you will from there. If you want to add more detail in, you absolutely can do so. So in this overview, we can see total number of projects, project volume, project square footage, how many states are covered there. We can see an interactive map over here on the left-hand side. And now we can start diving into the details. So if we wanted to look at the different project volumes by building type, well, I can go ahead and select on our office space. That's going to filter out our map, and it's going to show us where those projects are located on the map there. We could then use our project properties. I want to break out those key metrics. So maybe I want to look at this by total building area. So I can go ahead there and see for office space, our average cost per square foot is $235.90. But maybe that owner doesn't care about that metric. Maybe it's not resonating in whatever meeting I'm in at that point in time. So I want to look at it by rentable building area because that's going to resonate more with that owner or whoever we're presenting to. So now we can go ahead and see that rentable building area, the average rentable building area for our office space is 246.66. From there, we can get further into the details. So we're going to start using our filters. So those things that we defined in there. So I'm going to go ahead and like project type, we're going to select on office spaces. I could then use my attribute filters to go ahead and filter this even further. So state, year, total building area. So we can go ahead and start interacting with that. And we're saying, in this case, we want to see projects that are 160,000 square feet and up, basically. So go ahead and, again, add as many filters in here as you need, and it's all just being based upon that information that you're pulling out of your templates. Now, those templates can be customized to how you guys go about doing your work as well. Once you have those things in place, we can see the results it's giving us. So we can see each of these projects listed out here. We can see the direct cost, the indirect cost, and the total cost. And along with those are going to be a cost per unit. Again, those cost per units are based upon our project properties. So use that drop-down menu to go ahead and select on anything you'd like to at that point in time. I'm just going to, excuse me, leave it as total building area for the moment. Down below, you see a breakout by division. So currently we're in uniformat WBS structure. So if I wanted to go ahead and change that at any point in time, I can go to switch it to something like master format. Once we do that, we can then go ahead and review, divisionally speaking, everything that's going on here. So we can see the total cost for that division. We can see a cost per unit, again, based upon our project properties for each one of these projects here. On the far right-hand side, we can see the average total cost and the average cost per property. So we can then go ahead and maybe I'm working on an estimate and I haven't done something like this before. And I see, well, our average cost per property is like $54.89. Maybe mine is sitting up here at this $65 number. What's the difference there? Well, if I don't know what's going on, I could always go further into the details and pick it up from there. So we can go back into that division. So 840 curtain or entrances, storefronts, and we can see what's happening with the total cost and why it's being driven up at that point in time. Once we get past those summary details, we can get into the property details. Now we can go ahead and add whatever project properties we'd like to add in here to go ahead and, again, help us tell a better story when we're going through this process. So we can bring in whatever project properties we'd like to for each one of these. We can then see their quantities. So we can see the quantities for each one of these projects that we've selected. And we can also see the unit cost based upon those quantities for each of these project properties here. If I want to go ahead and isolate certain projects, I can just click on that project and it's going to go ahead and isolate what's going on with our graphs down at the bottom so we can see our quantity averages there. We can also see our cost per unit averages based upon those number of floors and what those look like here. We can just flip through them as needed and tell that story again a little bit better. From there, we get into the comparison view. The comparison view is going to be a side-by-side comparison on what's happening for these projects. So we can see the total cost here. We can see a cost per property. And again, we can go ahead and change that to whatever it needs to be. So what if we're looking at rentable building area? Well, I want to go see what those average costs are per property there. Down below, we have another graph breakout by WBS property here. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to select on that master format too. And now we can see, graphically speaking, that sharp difference in that one project for the storefronts, entrances, and curtain walls there. So we can see all of that broken out. The last tab in this workbook is going to allow us to go ahead and set escalation. So bring in past estimates or past versions of those estimates, apply both a regional escalation to them and a time escalation to them. Once we do so, you could then go ahead and hit this button down at the bottom. In this case, we'll be able to review the original cost of that project along with any escalated costs. So I always use the example, hey, COVID shut down this project, and that owner calls us back and wants us to go ahead and give them what it would look like in today's number, in today's dollars, right? So we're going to go ahead, set those escalations accordingly. Once we do so, we can give them a number that we're comfortable with based upon those past estimates that we've already done very quickly. And at that point, they can give us a go, no-go decision on whether we actually need to get into that whole estimating cycle again. So we're not just spinning our wheels just to be shot down. So we can roughly give them a good number that we can rely on at that point. So this overview dashboard is not the only dashboard that you'll receive along with this package. So you also receive this dashboard here that gets into the line item comparison data. So this is a variance dashboard that you'll receive. You'll be able to come in, select the projects that you're looking for. So, and not only the projects that you're looking for, so we have Harley Building BI selected currently, and we have multiple versions. So however many versions of that estimate exist, you can go ahead and bring those versions in. Once you have them in here, now you can go ahead and start reviewing the details of this project. So we can see 0240 demolition and structure moving. If I wanted to drill further down into the details, well, I can open up that and we can get down to the line item level here. So now we can see our initial quantities, we can see our total cost, and then we can see the changes within that package. And it's going to have a heat map variance report for you at that point in time. But just like with the previous dashboard, you can switch it into whatever format you'd like to switch it into. We can drill up and collapse everything back down and then just go into the details as needed on this dashboard here. It's going to show you some additional information. So if we wanted to get into like the WBS property costs on here, so we can get into those WBS property costs. Let's go ahead and pulling that information here. So again, be able to break this out however you'd like to, and all pulling data from your estimates. So if I wanted to go ahead and look at these estimates by, what did I just passed it? CSI level 2, in this case, I'm going to select on CSI level 2. It's going to go ahead and break it all out in that manner for us. And now we can look at those divisions and get that heat map variance for us at that point in time. So we go back to like 0240 demolition structure moving there. We can see those variances here. Down below, we're going to see a graphical breakout of those same divisional breakouts, and we can see how they're stacking up from one version of this estimate to another. Again, helping us tell a better story. So we're not fighting over minute changes in a package where we can see, hey, this is where the big changes have occurred. Let's go ahead and talk about those things. Besides just the WBS cost as a whole, we can get into the unit cost for those WBS properties. And again, you have the same versions, the WBS properties available and your project properties. So go ahead and select on whatever you'd like to use as the basis for your breakout at that point in time. So you'll be able to see the cost per property. Go ahead and switch it to whatever you need it to be at that point in time. As far as the WBS properties, you'll be able to see the cost per property and the variance there. And again, another graphical breakout of what you have going on within those estimates will be available to you. On the project data tab, you're going to be able to review all of those key metrics that you care about. So those things like total building area, total site area, construction duration, pre-con duration, those type of things will be listed out here, and you'll be able to tell that story again from version to version, how those properties have changed and how those changes have impacted your cost for that project. And again, you'll see that variance listed out here as well. On the summary tab, it's going to just do a high level summary. So we're going to see the direct cost broken out. We'll see each version of this estimate. We'll see the direct cost, the variance between those in dollars, and the variance in percentage. It's also heat mapped for you. You will see the same thing with indirect cost here. Again, each version of this estimate that we've loaded in here, the variance in dollars and the variance in percentage. Total cost, same thing. Along with those heat maps, and then you get another graph of how these estimates are being broken out and what those changes look like there. You get into the fees section, and here it's going to be the same type of information, but this time we're looking at our fees and our indirects. So we're wanting to standardize those fees and indirects within our templates. So that's another reason why we're using templates from the very beginning, is because we want to be able to track these things. We want to be able to get down to that level of detail and help us sharpen our pencils a little bit and get better at what we're doing. So we can see those fees and indirects here. We can see the differences between each version of that estimate and how they've gone ahead and been affected. And then we also get that heat map there. And then at the bottom, we see another graphical breakout of what's going on with those fees. So we can see the equipment surcharge, the sales tax here, and what the differences are there. And then our overhead and profit over here on the right. And that's pretty much it. Alex.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan, for going over that. We really appreciate all of the incredible information that you provided around how Power BI integrates with DESTINI Estimator. We appreciate everyone attending today's webinar. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Appreciate you. Thanks.